How is it going, boys and girls? Welcome back to Key West Waterman. What you doing, Tipsy? How is it going, boys and girls? Welcome back to Key West Waterman. My name is Aaron Young. It's a slightly breezy day here in Key West. We have some weather moving in today through this weekend. So I canceled my trip today. It was a dive trip, and I'm probably gonna have to cancel tomorrow and Sunday. Was gonna take some time off and kind of just get some stuff done, part of being a business owner and whatnot. But a very exciting package arrived, and I don't know that I have it in me to not pull this out and probably test it today. So I'm gonna unbox this. I'm gonna let you watch me unbox it because this is first impression for me. I have not seen it, and as I am unboxing it, I will explain a little more as to what it actually is. So come along and check it out. We're probably gonna go out and test it afterwards, if all goes as planned. Even though it's windy, probably gonna take a butt whooping, but it'll be worth it. All right, so if you've been watching the channel for some time, you've seen my primary gun, my reef gun, spear gun is what I'm referring to. If this is your first time watching, and it has kind of become a thing of legend, the banana gun. It's the gun I built years and years ago. It's probably maybe 8 or 9 years old now. Long story short, the thing has seen its fair share of fish, and quite frankly, it's so beat up that it's to the point where it's starting to need repairs. And I kind of wanted to retire it, put it on the wall, and obviously I would need a replacement. So a good friend of mine, John with Koah Spearguns, I bounced some ideas off him about possibly recreating the banana gun 2.0, if you will. I made a couple changes. Essentially all I did was, hey John, is this possible? He said absolutely. I said, this is what I'd like to change. These are the current specs of the gun, and I kind of gave him some free rein, and told him to get creative with it and change what I wanted to change. And other than that, just kind of go with the flow. John's been building spear guns for years and years and years. The first spear gun I actually bought was a Koah, probably maybe 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Anyways, so this is the first prototype, maybe the last, banana gun 2.0. I have not seen it yet. Pretty much my idea was I wanted to kind of reduce the mass of the current banana gun. If you've seen it or been on the boat, it's a very beefy, thick gun. I told him it's a little beefier than I would like, so if he could possibly maybe reduce the mass and trade it out with ballast. And that's pretty much all I told him. Other than that, I kept the length the same, the amount of bands the same. We've got some yellow reel line, which I like. Got that matte finish. Come check this out, Will. Look at this thing. She's a beauty. I got a 50-meter reel. That's pretty sick. I told him I wanted it kind of flush with the stock, so it just keeps the reel lower, less stuff to snag on and whatnot. It is what we call a mid-handle plus. What that means is the trigger is actually back here, and there's a push rod that activates that trigger from up here. It just, for me, it makes it a little easier to track. I like that. I mean, a rear handle, you got to think your handle's all the way back here, so you're swinging a lot more gun in front of you. This is, for me, is a little easier to track. Got some nice grooves for the bands to keep the bands nice and high. Enclosed track. Same size as the banana gun, 52 inches. God, it's gorgeous. I like this matte finish. Absolutely love it. And he told me that this is a little pocket for ballast. So if I want to add weight or pull weight out, and the spear guns, the ballast is kind of affect, obviously, if the gun's going to sink or float. Some people like muzzle heavy, some people like muzzle light. If you're aiming and the muzzle's real heavy, it'll bring it down. If the muzzle's really light, it'll float a little bit. So you like them to be fairly neutrally buoyant. But other than that, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. And I think he said there was a different handle in here, so maybe I'll look at the different handle, but I like it. It is
That's
really,
like your other one.
there you go. And I think I like that a little better, so I may switch that out. I'm a fan of the classic AR-15 handle, but anyways, first impressions, absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna get this thing rigged up and hopefully talk Will into going out and 20 knot winds and safety in for me so I can maybe test fire this thing a couple times. I'll see you at the boat. Let's rock and roll! All right, water doesn't look too bad. I don't know if you can tell. I can see the bottom. Start a little shallower. I couldn't get Will to come out with me considering the circumstances, so a friend of mine, Landon, decided to hop on, and it's a fellow captain here in Key West, just to make sure I don't drown while I'm test firing this thing. Let's get in the water. We'll just stay right around the boat. Welcome underwater, everybody. So I'm gonna kind of just talk you through some of these dives as I always do. And if you go back, and I think I show it a little bit later, I load my front band first through the other bands. I know that can kind of be confusing. I don't honestly know if it makes a difference. I just prefer to do it that way because I feel like the bands lay a little neater on top of the gun, but I have no scientific evidence to prove that it makes a difference. So this is my very first drop. You can see kind of at the top of the frame here in just a second, some very nice groupers. One swimming off, there's one facing me in the sand. Both fish over 15 pounds. Unfortunately, grouper season is closed right now, but I will be back in just a few short month and a half or so. First fish that comes in, nice mutton. This is my very first time ever pulling the trigger on this gun, and if you kind of watch this clip back, you can see I'm a little squirrely lining up that shot, and I really hate to hit fish and tear out. Unfortunately, it does happen. First time ever shooting a gun, understandable. It does operate a little differently. The main thing I did notice with this gun is because there's so much less mass on it, it does track. And what I mean by track is as I'm aiming and trying to line up, it was a little more loose in the water, which is a good thing. I'm not used to it yet. So like I said, if you go back and watch right as I'm lining up on that mutton, you can see I'm a little squirrely on my shot. Hit just a smidge high. I kind of went for the hero shot. I was trying to stone the first fish. Unfortunately, I hit a little bit high, but that fish will live. It was just a flesh wound. I've seen plenty of fish with scars across the tops of their heads like that. So this is my second drop. We're in about 50 feet of water. Just honestly, this wasn't even a number I had. I just kind of went to the edge of the reef and anchored up where I marked a little bit of life. It was so rough, I didn't want to run very far. I literally went due south of Key West. I'm scanning around, see a nice mangrove, kind of cruising around, doing my grunt thing to try and get it to come in. I'm waiting for just enough broadside, especially after that first shot. I wanted to make sure. And it hit its mark that time. Dead center of where I was aiming. If you scoot that clip back, you can see 3 very nice keeper groupers take off from all the commotion. And I have brain and bleed as always. And I've had someone that asked about gutting fish in the water, why I do it. Honestly, it's a habit from doing the commercial thing. Sometimes I don't do it, but the majority of the time I bleed and then I gut, and everyone's asking me why I'm crazy because sharks are going to come get me. The truth is the sharks aren't that bad. Discovery Channel makes it out to seem like these sharks are these man-eaters that the second they smell blood, they're going to eat anything swimming around. It's not the truth. I gut almost every fish I spear. Do sharks react to blood? Yes, they definitely can sense it, but it doesn't turn them into these savage beasts that are going to bite you the second there's blood in the water. And again, I do plan on making a shark episode. It's just not trouble I go looking for. So I'm kind of saving up footage so I can make an episode for y'all about that. These yellowtails are eating some of that leftovers from gutting that snapper. Just kind of scanning and poking around. I see a really big mangrove off in the distance, like really big. So I'm trying to get real low, you know, as low as I can, but still pursue it. So maybe it'll go behind a rock, give me a chance to advance my position a little faster. And honestly, I know I'm running out of air and this thing's not looking for me, or not looking towards me. So I kind of rushed it and kind of scooted towards it, but it definitely was not having it. So I did not rush my shot. Sometimes they get away. So we moved spots, went much shallower. We were in about 30 feet of water, and there's a mangrove I've got my eye on. You can see him kind of towards the top of the screen. And it seemed like it was pretty friendly, but I couldn't really tell. So I dropped real mellow, kind of got low, did my grunts, and I'm kind of trying to use the fans to get an opportunity on this thing, and it just, for whatever reason, won't turn. This fish is well within range. I could take a shot. I probably could have took one right here. Being a new gun, I wanted to be certain I had the right shot, completely broadside, and if I take that shot when that fish is swimming away, there's a good, very, very good chance I'm going to run the shaft right through the meat and ruin the fish. And I harvest these fish because I eat them, and I don't, you know, if I drive a shaft right through the middle of that fish, a lot of it's going to be wasted, especially on a smaller fish. And I get a lot of questions about roller guns, and one of the reasons I don't recommend rollers to beginners, because supposedly they have a much longer range on them. And I like to focus on getting close to fish, working on your hunting ability, closing that gap. And if you get to that point where you're very confident in your shots, get a little more experience, then sure, try something that's a little bigger, try a roller that can shoot farther. If you have that range, you're going to be more likely to take these far shots, and you're going to have crappy shots that are in the meat, tear out more often. If you notice, I do my best to get really, really close to these fish. Unfortunately, this guy spun up pretty good, and I could have got it off the bottom, but I'm gonna rip that little piece of I don't know what they're called, soft coral or whatever. I'm gonna rip that off the bottom, and I don't want to do that. I'm not out there to do any more damage than I have to. So I leave the fish on the bottom. I'm scanning around because, as I said in the past, and I always say, action brings action. That's the best way a fish is going to get sharked, is it being alive away from you. Once you secure the fish on your person, the sharks typically are going to leave you alone. I hadn't seen any sharks. I'm just being cautious while I'm trying to get my breathe up. Luckily, I was really shallow. I think this was like 17, 18 feet of water. So first thing I want to do is go down there and brain the fish so it's not creating any commotion that's going to attract anything. And then I just try to be very careful. Again, I don't know what this is called. I'm not a marine biologist. But I would like to be delicate if I can. Just try and get that out of there without messing anybody up. There's a nice grouper sitting under that ledge. There was groupers all over. Like I think we hit 3 spots, and I saw maybe 20 or 30 shooter black groupers. It was just unreal. And just kind of to touch back on it, did not mess up any meat. I was a little patient, and got a nice shot there just behind the gills, and no fillet was damaged at all. And this is one of the bigger groupers I was kind of messing around with, just showing my approach right on his nose. And May 1st, that's a shot fish. That fish was every bit of 15, 18 pounds and 20 feet of water. Just couldn't believe it was there. Pretty wild. But here's one thing I wanted to show kind of from the side here. You can see he's got this band slots. The original banana gun had a single slot, and it was a little loose, so the bands would flip-flop. One would go in front and they would pass each other as you loaded it. So we wanted to keep I told John I wanted to keep the bands separate, and he left, you can see the front slot there's a little bigger. So if I do want to add an extra third band, if I'm hunting deeper wrecks, bigger fish, I can throw a third band in there, and you can see that band gets a nice lift when he cut those little grooves in there. So it makes those bands rise a little higher and keep it a little more in line with the shaft, which is supposed to be more efficient. So this is our last spot of the day. Well, the afternoon. We were only out there an hour and a half, 2 hours. I pushed out to a wreck. I was going to see if just by any chance I could find anything a little bigger. And quite honestly, all I saw was big groupers. There's a couple nice mangroves on the end of this bow. And this is called rushing a shot, or a Hail Mary, if you will. This fish is on its way out, he's going down, and I knew it was close to the end of the day, so I threw a Hail Mary. I'd shot the gun enough times that I was pretty comfortable with it, and luckily I did get a nice shot. Kind of went against everything I preached in the beginning of this video. I did not wait for that fish to be broadside. I didn't, you know, I didn't really close the gap, but I threw one out there and I got a little bit lucky. So stay tuned. I kind of go over on land the original banana gun and the new banana gun side-by-side comparison and just share my thoughts. So I will see you there. Woo! Never does justice. Wind really picked up. Can't say that I blame you, Will, but got plenty of good eats. Nice mangroves. Lana got a nice yellow jack. Plenty for dinner. Wind is really picking up, supposed to blow 25 knots tomorrow, so we're gonna call it. I'd like to get back and kind of, obviously I'm gonna narrate my dive, so you already listened to that, but I'd like to set these guns up side by side and kind of go over some things that I felt while shooting. Kind of talk you guys through some of that, so I will see you back at the dock. What's your name? You're gonna be on the next one. What's your name? Nathan. Nathan from Ohio. Just stop by to say hey. You'll see this next Monday. Nice. All right, so I have Banana Gun and Banana Gun 2.0. I just wanted to show you kind of side by side. They're pretty much identical in specs, length, shaft, bands. The main things we changed, we slimmed it down a little bit. You can see it's a little thinner, top and bottom. Just wanted to make it a little more streamlined so it tracks in the water better. And by track, I mean when you're trying to line up on the fish, you're following the fish in the water, it's a little more smooth. We did separate the band slots. When I loaded this guy, I built this one so long ago, it was the second gun I ever made. I like to load the first band, the front band first, and a lot of times these bands will swap positions. So I wanted to keep those separate. We kept a little space there for a third if I want to add just a third band, just in case I'm, again, I said it earlier in the narration, hunting deeper water, bigger fish. What else did we do? Other than that, we didn't change a whole lot. One thing I did notice, I wanted to say, when I first put my hand on the gun and lined up on a fish, I got these butts matched up. You can see the handle is just a little farther forward on this guy. I did feel it. Was it a game changer or was it a deal breaker? Obviously not. I hit every fish I shot at. I tore out a one, unfortunately. I kind of went for the hero shot. It was the first time I'd ever pulled the trigger, but other than that, I'm very happy with this gun. I'd like to shoot it a couple more times before I make a decision whether to bring the handle back or not. It didn't affect the gun's accuracy in any way. It just felt different in my hand because I've been shooting this banana gun for so long. So it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't wrong or bad by any means. It just felt different. And one thing cool that John did was, in some of his guns, he'll throw these little carbon fiber covers, and there's pockets in here, so I can add ballast. Another thing I noticed is when I was lining up, the muzzle felt a little bit buoyant. So I'm gonna throw some lead in there. I wanna get this thing back out on the water. Definitely you're gonna see it again before I make a decision. Want to get it back out on the water, throw some ballast in it, and get a few more shots off and see if it kind of grows on me a little bit, or if I want to actually bring that handle back. But one of the main reasons we did this is I've grown to really love this gun, and I would be devastated if I lost it or if something broke on it. So I kind of want to retire it. I want to hang it on the wall. So we came up with the idea to make a replacement. And I've had so many of you ask about the banana gun specs, about building your own. I mentioned to John about maybe if it was a possibility to do a limited line of these once we get it finalized exactly the way that I like it. So if any of you guys are interested in maybe getting one, let me know. I don't even know if there's any of you out there that would want one. So if there are, leave a comment, let me know. That way if we do a limited line, I know how many to get, whether it's 5 or 10 or 0. So, but that is all I've got. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for listening to me talking this one. I did a lot of talking, but hopefully the wind will cooperate soon. I promise I've been trying to deep drop. I've been trying to go do cobia trips, the commercial stuff. It's been the windiest winter I've had in a long time, and all of my days off have not been meshing with the weather. So hang in there. I'm gonna keep pumping out videos. Hopefully there'll be some more action-packed ones here soon. But as always, thank you so much for your time. Subscribe if you are not. Like if you haven't. This is Tuna, and we will see you on the next one. Later.